Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network episode. I'm going to guess because I'm not looking, 132. Today we are actually going to be doing a live demo of the Roland P6. Yeah, you can see my hand and the P6 there. But yeah, we talked about our first impressions when it was announced, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And we got a lot of feedback. A lot of people wanted to see it. And then my wife actually surprised me with one. So we're going to take a look at it. And if you've got any questions regarding the P6 or anything like that, post them in the chat. Then we're going to talk Kontakt. That's on Curtis's end, so he'll handle that when we get there. But my name is Sun Warper, and with me today is Eon Lake. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to ask. Yeah, I'm good.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been too long.
That's all right. But how are you doing? You doing well? Everything's good?
More than 7 days is too much. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Well, because I got to keep up with all the gear you get. After 7 days, I can't keep up with everything.
Well, it seems you're beginning to outpace me there, really, doesn't it?
One piece of gear in a year? I don't know, man.
Mind you, I did get 2 recently, so yeah, I'll shut up now. But yeah, I'm good. I've been having a great time listening to the new Bendu album, which if you haven't been listening to that, why not? It's brilliant. Yeah. Congratulations to the man. I love it.
Yeah, it's an awesome album. We're stoked to have it out. If you want to check it out, we'll put a link in the description after. But what new gear have you got? Anything like new that you got recently since we last saw you?
That you don't already know about.
Okay.
You know, the new ones are the Ambient Zero and the Tempera.
And have you had much time to mess with those in the last week or so? Because I remember you were really gelling with one, but not the other, right?
I'm having fun with the Tempera. It's so easy to just bang some. I like the fact that it can act as part of the workflow. I can just quickly bounce the sound out of Ableton, throw it onto the SD card for that, and bring it into a what do they call them? A sound canvas, and start granularizing it and randomizing it a little bit, and so on, and mixing up rhythmical ones and more soft paddy ones and so on. You can get some crazy sounding stuff.
Very cool. I apologize. I thought this was the mic that was set, but for the intro, apparently it was the internal mic. So if I sound a lot different now, that's why.
That is better.
Yeah, that is better. Thanks for telling me beforehand, on good looking out.
It's quite obvious now, but yeah.
You're our microphone guru, man. You failed us today.
Gone
for a week.
Yeah.
Gone for a week and you're sleeping on the job.
I'm losing my edge.
Yeah, you got to get back on it. Well, anyways, it is very good to see you. Also with me today is my Audionautic co-pilot, Curtis. And by the way, before we get to Curtis, I have to mention we somehow all got the uniform memo of some form of green.
We're sludge colors today.
But Curtis, how are you?
Doing well, brother. Yeah, it's been a good week. Getting along. It's been a week of stripping down. It's been a week of just working within the laptop itself, and a lot of fun in that regard. You know, we get so many boxes. We talk about gear. We get boxes every week, and we've got a very gear-heavy episode this week. But it's just been working with a laptop this week, which has been really fun. Which I know would tickle you as a man who is very prone to the doorless these days. I've gone very doorful, and it's
it's a misnomer of DAWless for me, because every morning I'm working on the DAW, making music with literally the keys on the keyboard. That's I wake up at 5 now, and everybody's asleep, and I'm like, this is when I can make music, so that's what I do. Or I bring the little P6 to do sound design, send it in. But yeah. But that's cool. So you're doing similar though, right? You're working like with the keys on the keyboard, not like a musical keyboard, but the typing. Hardcore. Yeah, I did a song in 7/4 yesterday, trying to do the drums on the keys, and it was so off. I had to quantize it and just like fix it. I was like, why do I do this to myself? And I have a little mini lab right next to me. I'm too lazy to plug it in.
It's got to be done. Yeah. It's got to be done. It's I think it's nice. I think that they're devolving yourself firstly away from what you're used to, but as well devolving yourself away from like the standardized keyboard in that regard brings new ideas and brings a different way of thinking about it, because you are obviously limited to one scale in things like Ableton and stuff, then you're forced to use scale forces and stuff like that. I've been experimenting with that. I've never really used that before, but to then bring in the scale forces and the pitch shifters and stuff like that, it does breed a different way of thinking, especially if you're like taking a leaf out of Mike's book, coming in like to the idea of generative and stuff like that, and make the music that makes itself in that regard. I'm starting to explore that a little bit more, and so to toe dip into that world, it's quite an exciting way of making music. It's very different in that regard.
I had something on my whiteboard the other week that was I like generative, no I don't. And it was literally start a song with generative, and once it was going, delete the generative stuff.
Cool. All right,
like as a start point. Yeah,
I like that. It's very Brian Eno in that regard.
Stuff back in because I did like it after all.
Yeah, you know what I've been doing to bypass the keys is session players and just programming every chord, because once you set a key or a chord progression, you can then go in and just change it, add ninths, minor, sus, all that, and you can just completely change the chord as well. So I just do that, and then I do the leads and the bass and the drums with the little typing keyboard. It's a weird workflow, but it seems to be working.
It's good. Weird is good. Weird is good. Stepping up.
Yeah, weird is good. It gets you thinking. Yeah,
very much so. It's fun in that regard. Is that what you've been doing this week then, somewhat, or has it been all about the P6?
Well, both. I did 2 live streams during the week on the P6. One was just like my first impressions and seeing how much I could get through without really knowing it, because there is a lot of menu diving, as you'll see. And then the other one is just going all in on the granular engine and like how to make things with it, but then making a beat with it, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, beyond that, it's just the mornings making some music and then just trying to sleep and failing hard. So yeah.
Fair play. I think that can speak to us all. We can all relate to that. Trying to
mornings work better than evenings, I find, for inspiration.
Dude, I worked late last night, and it messes with my sleep too. But I definitely find I'm not as creative at night. I think some people probably are, but me, I'm more of a morning person. So like if I wake up early, I can work better than if I try to stay up or something.
Yeah, mornings is for mixing. I find. I think. For me, at least, evenings is for flowing, because your ears are fresh, right? So, like for me, in the evening, it's about the dark in the drizzly room, and then you're making and experimenting. And in the morning, you look at the chaos in front of you and go, let's work with it.
I'd be curious if/when you have a kid, if you'll sing the same song, because I can't work in the evening. I'm so tired. But every kid's different too. But no, I get that. And that's what I was saying, is that I think some people are more creative at night. For me, I would prefer to mix and make music in the morning, because, man, trying to do either of those at night, like the ears are fresh, like you said. So trying to create in the evening, I just like my ideas are like dull, I find.
That's fair. No worries. Yeah. In that regard, so we're about 8 minutes in. There's plenty of people in the chat. We've got a lot of people tuning in. For the P6 demo.
Yeah, let me say hi to all of our patrons real quick in the chat. We've got Abby. What's going on, Abby? Great to see you. Mike is here, says this time next week the Ableton move will have been revealed, but will the Audionaut gang be interested? I guess you'll have to wait and see.
Will they?
Abby talks a little bit about what some rumors are about what the move is, so you can check that out. Let's see what else we've got. Let's see. We've got Mike, Smiling Errors. What's going on, Smiling Errors? Lars is also in the chat. Lars, if you want to hop on to talk about the P6 or Kontakt or anything like that, come on over. We always love having his opinion in here, but that goes to all patrons. You're welcome to hop on. The link is in the Discord. And let's see what else we've got. Bendu is here as well. What's going on, Bendu? And Survey Channel. Here we go. Pretty much most of you were also in our sample challenge listening party, which was a lot of fun right before the show. So we'll be posting our poll for that at the end of this episode for the next one. We've got 3 very interesting options for this next sample flip. So, and we came up with a name for that one as we were discussing in the sample challenge. I think it's going to work well. We pooled our brains together to get this one. But anyways, Curtis, what do you want to start with?
Well, as you've got it there, and as it's the headline for the week, let's start with the P6. So you've got it all there ready on Door. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. Here it is. Yes. So how do you want to go about this? What do you want to talk about? Because I feel like it's kind of been, we did our first impressions, our reaction to it, but where do you want to kind of start with actually seeing it, the physical, tangible version of it?
Well, firstly, by doing that so that we can all see it up there. So yeah, very small. Put your hand up next to it so people can see where it's at. Let's start with that. Very small.
Here, hold on. Let me.
It does have.
Here, wait. I got it.
Doesn't he?
Phone for scale.
There you go.
Yeah. Now that has a case, which is kind of old and demolished. But hold on. Let me take the case off so you can see.
Look at that.
There's that's a what, iPhone 13. So
a regular size one, yeah.
Yeah. Not the whatever it's called. I don't even know.
So there you go. Yeah. So we've got you've been mashing around with it for about a week or so. You've done 2 live streams as you stay. Why don't you pick us up? Why don't you pick us up where you got lost, where you've left off? A couple of people probably have watched your live streams already. So what have you been experimenting this week, and what have you been finding? And show us how you can go and make a beat.
So I think a lot of what I've been doing is actually resampling and then using the granular engine with those sounds. So if I can find, well, let me play this track, the track that I got here. So we can obviously do our effects. And I really like the scatter, which is on the SP. So really quick, I should add this little clause. I've got latency hearing this. So any effects I do are going to be kind of wonky compared to the actual timings because it's going through this computer and I'm hearing it through my main computer. So there's that. But basically what this is that main pad, which I can mute everything else. That is the one of the stock sounds that comes in this. And I think it's, let me find it. It's a little guitar. It's this. It's this little guitar sound, which is in chop mode, which I can talk about. So chop, you can just chop it evenly. Let's shut off that chop, and then you can hear what that original sample is, and then I'll show you how I use that granular. So this is a stock sound that came with it, and so I took that and put it in the granular engine, and that's what I created with it. So then from there, I can open the keyboard by hitting this, and then we can do and I added the lo-fi button, which if I shut, here's a little cleaner. You can add that lo-fi and we can control the amount. So I actually have it up at 70, but we could tone it down. We can up it. Listen to that. Just gone. So I added it at 70. We'll put it back, but you can I don't know if you can automate this one, but a lot of the things when you're running the step sequencer, you can automate like per step. So we can test that out in a new pattern or something. But yeah, so that's how I took that guitar and then made this. And all the drums are stock that were on here. You can also add some lo-fi on the multi-effect, or the set, or the compressor. So yeah, that's a lot of what I've been doing is, oh, sorry about that, taking the sound and just really changing it up. We can explore some other granular sounds as well if you want, but I don't want to go too far without answering any questions. So do you have any questions, or are there any questions from the chat?
Eon Lake, you go first, bro.
What are the 6 buttons for? I like the 6 buttons.
The 6 buttons, those are your sample pads. So
playback.
Say again?
For playback or selecting?
No, these are actually for both. It's kind of like the SP where.
Yeah.
So now you can obviously so it is a very different layout from the SP, but it all kind of works similarly to the SP. So you have the gate. So if this is on gate, so when I let go, it stops playing. But if I shut the gate off, it's going to play the full sample through. But I can turn that on and it shuts it off. And then these are your pads. Now, one thing it does differently from the SP that I actually think is really cool. I'll go back to that guitar sample again. Let me get out of the patterns. When we go, and this is where we start coming into the menu diving, but when we go into Shift G, which is voice, you get all these different options like fine tuning, coarse tuning, detune, which is pretty cool. But this chop is kind of similar to on the SP when you go to chop. But instead of being able to set your transients or by markers and stuff like that, all you can do is set it by number, and it will just evenly chop it into those numbers. So it's quicker, but you also can't do a lot of, you can't be like, no, I want this one to start a little earlier or later. You can't do any sort of fine tuning. So that's like what I did for that one thing. I set the chop to 8. And then if you get out of the menus, you can go to the keyboard and you'll see, hopefully you can see, let me zoom in here. You can see these lit up ones. Now, instead of playing across the keyboard, you're playing the chops. So that's one of the other playback modes that you can do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it is quicker to get the chops, but you don't get the nuance.
Time already, you can just hack it just quickly like that, which I do. I do more often than I should on other samplers, to be fair. I know some of an auto zero crossing setting that will take your clicks out for you if it's not quite.
I think it does that just on auto, but I'm not sure. But when I've done it, I've not heard a lot of those little pops and clicks that I would expect to be there. So it might do that.
I always try the lazy way first, and then
okay,
I'll do it properly then.
Yeah. But yeah, so to answer your original question, though, the 6 are, and you get, I think it's 48 in total because you have 2 banks on each of these pads. Just like on the SP where you have your project or your bank pads, you can change, you can go A or E. And just like on the SP, if you're in the second bank of each of these, it flashes rather than being a solid light.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many banks and so on have you got?
So you get 8 banks, and I think it's 48 total pads because it's 6 for each.
And how about the ease of getting sounds on and off it?
There's a few ways to do it. Yeah, I think actually Smiling Airs in the Discord had asked a question related to that. Curtis, if you want to pull it up. But in the interim, there is, of course, just sampling in, which actually one thing I really like with this sampling is you can just, you've got the mic, so you can hear me talk. You can then just mute it right there. There's not, it's both better and worse than the SP in the sense that on the SP, you can turn on the external input or shut it off. It's just on. The external input is on if you've got something in, but then the mic you can turn on and off. And then when you hit the sampling, you engage a couple new knobs out of here. You can do mono or stereo, which is huge because of the sample times. And let me pull up this because the sample times are going to play a big role in what you can fit. And mono at 44.1, you can do 5.9 seconds. 22.05, you can do 11.8 seconds, 14.7, 17.8 seconds, and 11.025, 23.7 seconds. But that's all just mono. When you go into stereo, it's like halved. But you can do stereo sampling.
Per pad, then you're talking about.
Say again, Jan Lake?
Is this per pad then?
Yes, it's per pad. So it's not super limiting, and I haven't had too many issues because I actually like the sound of dropping the sample rate. It does give it a little more warmth and stuff like that, but you can quickly change sample rate just by hitting the lo-fi button. You get 4 of the options, as you can see on here. And then if we go here, you can see this sets mono or stereo. And then here you can do the measures. So I like that you can do set measures, you can do free, you can do a couple other things as well. And then on this one, this third knob, you're actually setting the threshold for when it starts to record, like the noise threshold. So you can't actually, you kind of have to just guess. But if we turn on the mic, you can see here, that's the actual input that's coming in. And then you can kind of just hazard a guess, I guess, and be like, okay, yeah, you know, let's do -9 or whatever. And then this is your gain, that last knob. So you do have a gain, which is nice. And then it works the same to resample, like I was saying about how it's kind of easier. And I did, there we go. if you want to resample, you don't have to do a resample button like on the SP. All you have to do is just mute the microphone, and whatever you're playing is going to just resample into an empty pad, like whenever you choose an empty pad. But that also means if you've got something external coming in, that will also get put in with that resample. So that's kind of like the blessing and the curse of its simplicity, is it makes it a lot easier and quicker to just resample and do that stuff, but also you have these kind of like things you have to consider.
Does it have parameter locking?
You mean like per step changes and stuff like that?
Yeah, or motion recording.
Yes, it does. There's actually some really cool stuff. So let me go in. Are we still in that one? Yeah, we're still in this track. Okay, so let me find the hi-hat. So here's the hi-hat. So if we go into each of these, you can hit this granular and you get all these different options as you see on the menu. So what we've got, let me start at the beginning again. You can change the notice playing. You can change the velocity, the probability of it playing, which you can go down, or you can also, like on the Digitac, the first of 2 bars, or the first of it playing twice, 2 of 2. You get all these other options. So we're going to set this one to 100 though, and then gate, you can actually change per steps gate, and then this is micro timing, which makes a huge difference. We can do a little example. I just don't want to tweak this song because I actually have every track or everything micro timed a little bit. That's what gives it that kind of shuffle. And then the last one on here, these little zeros, those are your sub steps, so you can do all those sub steps. So what I like about this compared to the SP is you can do it all after, which I really like. You don't have to do like reprogram it similar to the SP. Why do it keeps going to a single person? There we go.
Just wants to see me. That's what it is.
Yeah, it just wants to see you engaged. So yeah, so there's that. But also when it's playing, if you just hit the record, you can automate all of these things as well. So you could be changing. You could change the volume. Let me really quickly just go to a new pad here, or a new pattern. Let's find an empty one. Yeah, this is empty. Okay, so let's go to our hi-hat and let's just go all across here, which I could do like that too. So that's it playing now. But if we do that,
yeah,
now hear it changing the volume. And we could do, let's say we want this one to be a different pitch. We can just do, let's say, -3, and this one to be -7.
Right. So you've got per step and motion recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
And presumably,
Boy in the chat real quick says you can change the start end of chops by holding the chop in keyboard mode. So that's pretty cool. I was not aware of that yet, but that's good to know. So we can explore that in a future thing. But yeah, that makes it a little bit even better than that. You can control the changes and stuff. So yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of the per step sort of stuff you can do, and motion recording as well.
Yeah, so I was thinking that to mitigate the mono aspect of some of the samples, you can move them around a bit.
Yeah.
Wise and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a lot you can do with it, and it's pretty awesome. The micro timing alone is super useful just to get that kind of off pattern sound and stuff like that. And then you can combine it with shuffle, which is right here on D, and you can just add. The shuffle is actually pretty cool. It's just up it like crazy.
That's savage.
Yeah, you can go really high.
Wow.
And then let's go in and actually do some micro timing real quick on that too. So we can go, let's say, we'll not do the first one, but we'll do let's do timing and a little velocity. So that it's a little slow to do, but we'll just do a couple. Let's do a probability too. And we'll take that one off, drop that probability, and then let's go, let's say on this one, we'll do a sub-step. There we go. And let's put on a kick.
Oh, very techno.
Here, we'll up it for you to 132. And Smiling Air has asked probability. Yeah, that's the P that I went through on the every step. You can do probability. Yeah. Okay. What
There we
else?
go. Speaking of spine and errors, he had in the Discord. He says, "I know it's a standalone unit, and the Audionautics are big on daughter setups. But if it's hooked up to a computer, what is its interface like? Is it intuitive, useful, etc.?"
Yeah. It's the app that you get is Sample Tool, and it's pretty bare bones. It's really just for moving in samples, and then you get a waveform, and you can actually see the time that it's going to use depending on the sample rate you're in, and then you can downsample to get, you can go, oh, I want this to be mono, and then you see it get a little bigger, like of this area that it's going to cover from the sample, and then you can say, well, let's downsample till I get the full sample. So yeah, that's basically all you can do on that app. And then when it comes to throwing it into a DAW, it can act as an audio interface similar to the SP, but it just has way less ins and outs. And then I think there's MIDI transfer and all that type of stuff.
Right.
But I mean, it's a very small form factor for $220. So yeah.
So the MIDI's over the USB,
I mean,
is it?
Yeah. I haven't tried it, but that's what I've read. But someone in one of my YouTube videos said, because I was saying one of my ideas for using this as like a use case is to start an idea on here and then send sounds into the DAW or into the SP or, a sampler, and then expand on it because you can't do pattern chaining as of now, I believe, and stuff like that. But you can obviously change patterns, but you can't like play these in succession. But so I was saying to do that, and someone commented that they're having some serious MIDI issues when connecting with like MIDI feedback or something. I asked if they could elaborate, but they haven't responded yet. But so there is supposedly MIDI and stuff, but there may be some issues with it. So yeah,
well, it's early doors for them, I suppose.
I do know one other thing though, because Frequency Control Center just got I think it's S1, the other one of the other ones of these, and from what I've read, it syncs up when you connect via MIDI to every setting on the granular, because your granular, which we can go over, has a ton of settings. And I guess when you use the S1, it's like a MIDI synced, like the CCs, like, oh, filter, this and that. It's all connected. Yeah.
Let's go through that then. Tell us about the granulizers.
All right. So the granular is like probably one of my favorite things on this, but really quickly, Lo-Fi Boy in the chat. So in the last video, you picked each note and press granular to change velocity. If you hold the step and press the corresponding pad, you have 3 levels of velocity. So yeah, just another way to do it. But I like to get the more nuanced, like really dial it in and stuff, but that is another way to do it. Lo-Fi Boy, if you know this, I've tried to hold multiple notes at the same time, like on the Digitact, and change things, and it only did it for one at a time. But I would really like to see if it doesn't have multi, like per pad at the same time automation and stuff, because it's really annoying, like on a live stream or just in general when you're making music, to have to go, okay, this pad, I'm going to change this one. Now I'm going to change this one, So in that sense, I guess having the 3 settings would be nice, but anyways.
Is there a copy paste way around that?
There probably is. I think there is. You can copy and paste and stuff. I just haven't. I usually like just program first. I'm like, ooh, pretty lights, and then I'm like, oh, actually, yeah, I want to change. I want to change every step and stuff. So the other thing too is, like, when it comes to micro timing, I don't want to copy and paste the same micro timing. I want each one to be off. Like, some are going to be negative, some are going to be positive. So that's why it would be nice to be like, okay, 1, 3. And so on and so on could be +5, and then 2, 4, 6 can be -7 or so. Yeah, that's what I would like to see. But yeah, so you want to go to the granular? You said, right, Curtis? All right, so let's go to granular. So we made a new pattern with this thing. So when you go to the granular, it's not a very pleasant sound, right? That's because it's the first pad. I believe it's just set to well, we can mess with it, but it's just this kick.
Yeah,
that's through the granular stuff.
Flush.
I don't know why you guys like that, but we can stick with that if we want. Now I've got to pull up my notes because I'm on 2 hours of sleep, but there is a ton of settings on the granular, and so you get to them by going to Shift Voice again, and you're gonna see here it starts with head position, which, let me just go to the notes here, controls your grain playback or the
Position,
start
right.
time of the grain
Yeah.
playback. So it's not really going to make a difference on this one we're setting, but you can also see you do get kind of an additional like screen from these keys. They will act to show you like what's going on with the granular engine, what it's doing. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to choose a different pattern or a different sound because this one just does not work for me. We can do this key maybe, but here, we'll do this because that's what I did in one of the, actually, hold up. Let's see what else we got. That would work. Oh, maybe we'll take this bass, actually. Hold on. Let me just get it out of shop. Are you guys hearing the bass? Is it coming through?
Yeah.
Because it's a low end, so I know I added lo-fi so you can hear that a little bit, but I think we'll put that on the granular engine. So all you have to do to choose your granular is hold pattern, granular, and then choose the sound that you want. And now you can hear, I'll up the pitch. So that's that bass now upped, I think, 12 semitones, and then we raise the volume a little bit. This reminds me of like an Aphex Twin sound or something. Anyways, let's get back to all of these options. So head position, we can change where it's starting, because remember, this is a longer sample, so we can move that head position to start somewhere else. So we can get that sound if we wanted to. And then you can also do this with the, if you're out of the menu, this can be your start time as well, and this is your end time. Ooh, I kind of like that. That could be something there. Okay, so let's get back into the main menu for this. Head, this is head speed, and this controls the grain playback speed. If you go in negative, it's going to do reverse.
Oh, that's
Hear
lovely.
those like added sounds. Oh, I like that. And you can see it moving backwards. I almost like this part better. I'm going to move that start. Hold on, let's move that start time a little bit. Let's go. I want that.
That's bad.
Note right. We lost it. That's a trip. Let's go here. Little. There we go. Okay, so let's go to spread. So this one is playing in reverse, right? But if we move the spread, you'll see it's moving around. So that's controlling the spread of the grains that it's creating. And then if we go, I want to make sure we don't skip any. This one is grain density. So this is going to control the density of the grains. We can lower it. And 8 is the highest it goes. That's what it defaults to. I typically like to go slower. It's almost kind of like a delay, but you can get these really weird happy accidents right there. Okay, and then let's go. This is grain shape. Now this I can best describe as a volume LFO on the grains. So from, oh, I don't have it in my notes right here on the thing, but from 0 is what they say is a square wave, as in nothing changes when you do it. But if you do 1 to 49, that's a sawtooth fade in of each one, and then 50 is a triangle, so it fades in and out, and then anything over that is a fade out on each grain. So we'll do 50. I usually like having that. It's getting crazy. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is grain size. So this is the size of individual grains. We can drop it, and if you hold shift, you get more granular. Get it control, but we'll go. You can hear the grains are super short at this point, but if we keep going, there we go. So I'll probably change the position of this as well. And we got a couple more to go through. So grain reverse probability is the probability of grains playing backwards. So I usually like to do a little bit. And then this is grain timing jitter, which adds random timing to the playback. I always like to have a little bit because it's adding some more, evolving texture to it. And then grain time key follow. This one I am not a fan of. It changes the grain speed and playback based on the pitch of the note you're hitting when you're in the keyboard. So like if you're trying to do polyphony, it becomes really annoying when they're playing at different speeds, especially if you have like this multiple notes. You'll start getting these weird combinations. So I always set it to 0, and we're not going to hear that really right now until we do polyphony, really. So that's the settings we can do with this. I'm going to move this around a little bit.
It's like a cello.
Yeah, and remember that was that bass now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The other thing we can do, there's auto pan, and this is set to random right now. So this is moving the sound across the stereo field. You guys might have mono on the playback of this, so I'm going to shut that off so that it's more consistent volume-wise. There is pan, and then you can set the effect if it's going into effects, or you do get 2 bus effects like the SP, but they don't get treated by the effects. Only the bus that's called effect does. It's kind of annoying. I wish there was multiple bus effects, but I understand why you can't, because you can't really switch. Sends is, let me go here really quick. You get per pad sends for delay and reverb, which is a nice kind of compromise. You also get per pad filters, which is not on the SP404. Granular, and every pad can have its own filter. It can be band pass, low pass, or high pass. And then you can do resonance and all that type of stuff, all independent of each other. You can do them all differently, which is really cool. So let's add some delay, and we'll set the delay in a minute. I'm just going to add a healthy amount, let's say. We'll put a ton of reverb. And then now we'll go into the delay reverb, and we can change the time. We'll do a quarter. And then let's go level. That's fine. Feedback, we'll up the feedback. So this is the one kind of con, is that you have to do a lot of menu diving on small screens. But once it starts to click, it makes sense. But like, you got to learn what all these little names are and stuff like that. And that's a little annoying. Here's the low and high pass on the delay and reverb. This is just the delay one. So we're going to take out some of the high end and the low end, clean it up. And then let's go to reverb type. Just like the SP404, I think this is its Achilles heel. It's got not very good reverbs, especially because this is the standard reverb on the SP. To my knowledge, there's no SX reverb, and there's no, I think it's called Ha-DAO or something like that. That one is like a modular reverb that's actually decent. This one only has that standard reverb, and it's not the best, but it is what it is. We can go in and adjust the time, and then level. And this one, okay, we'll leave it at that. And then the other thing that every sample has is 2 envelopes. There's a pitch envelope, which we're not even going to get into, but it has, everything has its own envelope, and you can set the envelope type. So we can do ADSR, ADR, all these other ones. We'll just do ADSR, and we're going to add a little attack to kind of get more of a pad sound. So I'll just show a ton of it. Here it swells up. We'll do, you said cello, right, Curtis? So we're going to go with that cello sound with a bit of like the bow being played. Then we'll up the decay a little bit. Let's put that. That's up there already. Let's get a little release so it kind of rings out after. Okay, so that should be good where we want it. And then from there, let's go into the keyboard. Shut off lo-fi.
That's beautiful.
Let's add another delay. We'll add this time sync delay. Let's do.
This is exactly what I've been doing on the Tempera.
Nice, dude. Yeah. Let's do this. Okay, now I will say one thing that I really like, one of my biggest pet peeves on this, and it's just a thing because of the form factor. You just have C to C. So what I typically do, and you guys know, if you've seen my channel and you all watching know, I love like big 7th, 9th, 11th chords and stuff like that. Not the easiest thing to do on here. So unless you're programming it in, which I don't really feel like doing or getting into, but what I do typically is just adjust the pitch so that C is the tonic, or, you know, the first of whatever chord scale I'm in. So like if I'm not in C, if I'm in D, I'm going to move it up so that C is actually D. Not a big deal, but it is a bit of a thing for me. So let's see. I know we made this like trancy drum. I can't hear this in time with the song, so what we might have to do is actually go in and change or do it by pattern. But what we can do is, let's see, we'll go out of here and let's just put one on there, and we'll go into here and we can change the gate. Let's go long. We don't need to do micro timing, and let's do C. We'll leave that there, and then let's go maybe on this one. We'll program that in, and we can go, let's say, to A. Are we in C4? Yeah, so this is going to be quick, but let's just see what it sounds like. Oh, it does not want to play. Hold on.
You can hear it. It's there faintly.
Is it there? Because I'm not hearing
faintly.
the granular. Oh, it's because of the attack. Hold on. Actually, I don't know why it's doing that. Lost in strength. So I don't know why it's doing that. It shouldn't be doing that, but we'll just move past that. Let's see. So why don't we just go into the keyboard, and I'll just hold the note. I gotta try to sync it. That's why it's a very slow build, but and you can see it's motion recorded everything. We could add another note on top. There we go. Okay, so if you really want to see more about like the sequencing and all that type of stuff, I would recommend going to my channel, because I can actually hear with no latency when I'm recording that stuff, because this is going to be really hard with the latency I've got, because it's like when it's here, that's when I'm hearing the one. So it's going to be really hard to program in, but you get the general idea. That's how you do it. And then, like I said, just to start recording, you just do that. You can do a metronome. You can get a start, what's it called? Like a count in and all that type of stuff. But that wouldn't help here just because of this latency. So that's basically the granular engine. Now we've got this kind of evolving texture, and maybe we slow it down. There you go. Okay, so from there, Eon Lake looks like he was rocking. Is there anything you want to follow up on, Eon Lake?
No, it's just, it looks like fun. I mean, it's kind of everything that I thought it would be, but with a lot of features as well. I mean, it's something that, you know, we can be this far into the show and still talking about it. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of features that you get on much more expensive kit, you know, not in the same number, but still incredibly flexible for what it is.
I got to tell you, just the granular engine alone, with how deep you can get into it. And we didn't even get into like pitch envelopes and the filters. We could add, let's really quickly go into the filter. So we can do a type. Like I said, you get high pass, low pass, band pass. Let's actually do, there's this one too, which I forget what it is. Let's do a high pass, because there's one trick that I've been experimenting with a little bit to get some bass out of it. So you find there's not much at the low end in this at the moment, but if you go there, you up the resonance. Yeah, you can get low end coming out of it. And let's go back to this. Yeah, I'm not hearing much. It's probably because there's not much there, but we do also have. Let's go to, let's say, 6. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, we can do that. We could add, if we wanted to, instead of that high pass where I was trying to get that bass boost, we could go and get, let's say, band pass, and that should clean it up quite a bit. That resonance. There we go. Okay. So I'll leave it there. Anything from the chat, Curtis, or that you have questions for, or anything else from our socials?
Just well, as you were playing around with that, and just to bounce off what Eon Lake was saying, obviously that we have a lot there, and usually with these boxes that are around about 100, 200 bucks, they're nice and they're quirky and they're fun, but they have a limitation on them. And eventually I'm thinking more about my Volkers. They end up on the shelf, and you have your fun, they do a thing, and after a period of time they become they're not used much anymore. Do you see that same trend with this? Obviously there's a range here. We've got the S1, there's a T8 or T something, which is a drum kit. Do you see those similar limitations here, or do you see something a lot more for your money?
That's a really good question. And I'm going to say, for me personally, I see usage if only for the step sequencing and all that per pad stuff, but also the sample rates for resampling and the microphone, because this thing, it's portability, so I can just record like sounds with the mic, but I can do really cool sound design, because I like to make things really gritty and stuff like that. You can do that with these lo-fi settings. So let's actually really quickly, let me show you just an example of that. Let's up that pitch again on this, and I'll show you something. I like that. So let's mute those drums. And let's we're gonna go into pattern, and we're gonna duplicate the steps of that. Oh wait, I gotta go.
You're cracking me up here now, playing that, thinking it's a bit too hi-fi. Let's lo-fi that up a bit.
Yeah. Well, I just want to show an example of it. I mean, I could do it with the piano if that's easier. Would you rather I do the piano there, young lady?
It's just funny. It's like, how low can you go? So that's way too high.
Well, we can shut off the. I'll tell you what. We'll shut off the lo-fi. I'm trying to make sure that people can hear it on their like phone speakers if they're watching this back. But so what we can do, I don't even know if I have an empty pad available. Oh, I do. Okay, so let's go here, and we're gonna turn on this final, and I'm gonna really warp it up just for Eon Lake, and let's go to the lowest sample rate that we can, and then we'll just enable it and then hit play. Okay, so it got that. Now it's writing it, and then it's done. So now, so may not be the best example because, like Eon Lake said, it's already messed with. Now I turned on the lo-fi so you can get some high end, but this was the original. So you just get that like ghostly, fragmented quality to it. Now a piano would probably be a better example of showing exactly what it does, and if you want, I can do that. We've got some piano sounds. This one here, I'll do this one really quickly. Let me just find. I hate the sample that came with it, so we're going to delete that, and that will be our open one. And let's go. We'll put that here.
One would be really good for stretching out hugely.
Yeah, I already deleted it. I think it does do that, but we'll use this piano because that's what I've made for some. It's a little like octave thing, but we'll do that piano, and we'll turn on our vinyl again, and then I'll show you what the difference is going to be. So we'll enable it, and then okay, that's all it is. You hear all that like dirt. Now you're all getting this through internet and all that, but it's taking out some high end and all that type of stuff. Actually, that almost sounds to me like it was not done on the lowest setting. Let me go back, set that down. We'll do that. Okay. Normalize right, and then it's done. That's another one of the cons, Curtis, that I find anytime you're sampling, it's not like instantaneous. It takes a second. Okay, there we go. You can hear there's a lot more grit, just like darkness to it.
It's a character thing, yeah.
It's all character, but so you do that mixed with you can do some really cool. I've seen, I think as non-juror, do some really cool pitch changes where he then adds crusher and stuff like that, and then drops the pitch back to the original sample rate or the original pitch, and it slows it back down to normal, and there's all these artifacting and stuff like that. So that for me, Curtis, is like one of the biggest keepers for this, because it's just like having an SP202 or 303 without needing vintage gear, and it's $200. So that's why for sure I'd keep it for that, and also just this step sequencer. it's oddly better than what's on the SP404 for step sequencing for me, and with being able to change things like, oh, I want to change the micro timing and do all that and then just record. So yeah, those are the two, like, for sure why I would keep this. And then its workflow is just really good for making ideas quickly. I've made like 7 or 8 tracks in the week that I've had it that I actually am like, okay, I could flesh this out. I could put this into another thing and like really work on it.
That's awesome. So quick ideas, portability, moving through. Give us a final kind of like hot take or takeaway from if you were to put this into your arsenal.
I think it would depend what type of music you're making, what sound you're looking for, and then if you want something that, like for me, this is perfect because I can detach it from the studio, make songs in the house with headphones or something, sample things with the microphone, and then I can bring it back into the DAW or the DAW-less desk, throw it into the SP and really sequence it on there and stuff like that. So that for me is what its use is being this portable little idea station. So that is what I would say if that's what you're looking for.
That makes sense. I mean, how do you feel about this? B jamming since birth says, I wish they would make a solid step sequencer, like it's the only that focuses on step sequencing itself. Would you echo that from how is the step sequencer? How intuitive is it to use?
Well, first of all, what's up? I always see him on my channel as well, but I don't know if I'd want like a solely dedicated, maybe I'm misreading it, but like a MIDI, just like step sequencer. But I would love to see them add this to the SP, because the SPTR rec mode could be so much better, and it shows they're capable of making that type of stuff because it's all can be done on here. They started with some of those ideas with the motion recording and stuff, but the per step changes and being able to hold after you've triggered a note and like, well, I'm in pattern, but after you've triggered a note, be able to go, okay, I want to change the note and all that stuff. That would be huge to have on that. And
it's got enough buttons on it, hasn't it?
It does, exactly.
Right?
I feel like all of this stuff could be added, but now I think it's in this weird position where they're probably not going to want to add it to the SP because it cannibalizes this. Whereas, instead of a $450 or $500 SP, you could get that plus this. And now you've got the sample rates that were always in SPs. You've got the lo-fi button that were always in SPs. And you've got this granular engine and the stuff. Now, I think it's worth the $220 personally, but they've added so many things to the SP, like a sound generator, the looper, all that type of stuff. Like, they could at least add some of this into there. Me personally, I feel like it'd be very needed. Or very welcome, I should say.
Yeah,
very welcome. I mean, it is. It's like that kind of like they're not going to put all of everything into one box. They're going to put these special little features into different boxes, so you buy all the different boxes and put them together.
It just surprises me because they've added so much to the SP. That's where I'm like, it's funny that they've added all this kind of stuff. TR Rec mode was an addition, and then the sound generator, live looper, all that. They just keep adding and adding, and now it's like, is this like the end of it? Because now they don't want to cannibalize this other thing, or are they going to keep adding these things? I'm very curious to see the route they take.
I suppose it depends on the continuation of the cult following of the SP404. It has such a following that I in my experience at least isn't replicated anywhere else. And I mean this in the best of ways, the fan humanism around the SP and what it can do has kind of kept it growing from piece to piece to piece. So
yeah,
it doesn't mean it doesn't end, but it wouldn't be seen elsewhere, I don't think.
Yeah. This is an interesting one from B Jammin' since birth. The SP needs a better updated sequencer, and they personally would love them to make a Mark III with a touchscreen. That's interesting. I don't think I'd want the touchscreen personally. I like the tactile because I feel like we're veering into like MPC and DAW territory, and I like having this thing be my kind of like escape from that. But I hear you. I mean, I think a lot of people would want that, and yeah, you're right. It would eliminate the shift commands, but I don't know. Me personally, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. The Mark II will always be there, but I don't know if I'd want the touchscreen, but I would definitely like to see. Also, that would mean they'd probably stop updating the Mark II, and I'd love for them to keep this thing for a while. That original SP, I mean, I know they made the SX, but even the SX ran for a really long time because the A was the same as the SX, just with the color change to match IRA or whatever. But I think the Mark II has so much going for it, and they keep adding stuff that makes it better and better. So I'd like to see them just keep going, quite honestly. And then, yeah, maybe down the line, a new one that's got something like a touchscreen or something. That could be cool too. But yeah. Gentlemen, is there anything I've not covered on here? Because we're already at almost an hour, and we should cover Kontakt quickly. I don't know if we'll get to the round robin, but is there anything else or anything chat that you want to see? I don't know, Curtis. I wasn't able to keep up with the chat. Is there anything they were asking about this that we need to cover?
Nothing kind of came up through. It was more about people chatting and sharing their own ideas about it, really. Frequency Control Center, for example, echoes your idea where he's really enjoying the S1 that's coming through. So the idea of putting these boxes together to create an idea. And Mike, always sticking with the Ableton and the ideas. When Drift came out in live, he was like, I don't need this, when he's referring to the S1 in that regard as well. But yeah, also Lo-Fi Boy. Wow, it's a lot of vowels in that word. Said you did really well on your last live stream.
Oh, well,
nice
thank you. Well. Much appreciated.
Mm.
Yeah, those were fun. It was a lot doing 2 in 1 week, but
it was. Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it because it covered a lot. So yeah.
Very much so. For anyone who is watching back either on YouTube or on Spotify or listening on Apple or whatever, if you've got any questions, head across to our Discord. We will, I'm sure someone will keep us abreast of his exploration of this little box as it comes through, and more questions will come through as they do, and more answers as well. So yeah, head down to our Discord. The link is in the description. I believe I put it in there this week. I did not. Oh, I did. There it is. And I'll also put it in the chat so people can see what's going on. It's a great place to have a community. It's a great place to kind of do stuff and put things through. And it is the wider circle of our support. And we bring these live demos, and we can bring this show to you week in, week out because of the community, and specifically because of our patrons. So thank you ever so much. We really appreciate the support that you keep doing. It allows us to keep growing and growing. We've just passed 500 subscribers. So awesome. Thank you very much indeed. It's wonderful to have you here and have this community grow. If you want to get involved, we don't do sponsorships. We don't do ad campaigns or anything like that, clearly. So all of this is coming off our own back. And it is down to the support of our patrons that we can do this, bring these demos to you week in, week out. It's not just the gear, it's all of the software that comes with it for the live streaming each week. So yeah, if you want to head over to patreon.com/Audionautic, pledges start at $2. It's a great way to support. Obviously, hanging out here each week is enough. But if you wanted to see us grow in that regard, that's the best way to get it done.
Yeah, I just also want to give a massive shout out to everyone because we just crossed 500 subscribers on here, which has been a goal. So I'm stoked that we were able to hit that. So thanks to everybody who joined. A lot of people joined thanks to that last P6 episode when we didn't even have it. Now we have it. Hopefully we did it justice covering it. And I did full beat making things with it on my channel. I'll be doing more. But if there's more you want us to cover about it or questions, let us know. I'm always happy to revisit samplers on this, but just wanted to say thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon and just subscribes on here. It means the world to do this week in and week out with you.
Very much so. So yeah, once more, patreon.com/Audionautic. Ian, like, is there anything you want to say in this little segment before we move on? That is for people listening on audio only. He is shaking his head.
Yeah, that was some dead air right there. Thanks, Ian.
Fantastic.
Choose video or audio format, dude. Video or audio format.
Top-notch journalism right there. Head over to patreon.com/Audionautic for more dead air. So moving right along. Yes, also in the news this week, going straight from hardware all the way to software, because Native Instruments came out with Complete Control, Complete 15, which is Kontakt 8. Massive update, it seems, coming out of there for the small price of $600. It is a doozy, but at the same time, seems to be a big thing. People enjoy it. People want to see what's going down and where it's at. So we're going to come and have a run through. But before we do, and I update the timestamps for everything, have either of you guys ever used anything like this before?
No.
Only the player.
Yeah,
The
same.
player.
Same.
Yeah.
I've never had Kontakt.
I never told. Okay, all right. Is it something you've ever been interested in at all?
No.
No.
Fair play. It's a great start. That. Thank
Sorry,
you.
man. You brought it to the table. I'm all
This
sampler,
whole
right?
thing, that whole point of that question was so that I could sit down and do these timestamps and kind of take a
See,
little
the thing is,
second to write
I
a note
could
on the
go
keyboard.
into it, right? I
You
could
need a
say,
better question then, man. You need a better question here. Young like can ramble though. He's good. At
I
it.
could say like there are a lot of very interesting instruments on it that are like multi-sampled, multi-source, blended with effects and stuff like that. But I do kind of think that kind of takes the fun out of it, really. That if you make these things yourself with the number of different sound sources and a long string of plugins and change sounds and then maybe just record them to audio, because it all starts getting a bit crazy, which is what I've been doing a lot of recently. I like the fact that it's something that you made. I don't want to sound just like everyone else with the same sample packs, the same plugins, and so on. Anything that is too much of a one-stop shop sort of sets my alarm bells ringing, and I tend to not want to get involved. It's probably a bit narrow-minded, and I know that, but at the same time, yeah, it's just me, it's the way I work. I'm not going to beat myself up about it.
Yeah, dude, you got to do you. But let me read some of the chat. We'll buy Curtis a little more time. But we've got some chat. Smiling Arrow says, "Do not buy any native instruments until their sales." Jamet Birth says, "I have Kontakt 6 and never use it." to the earlier points of myself and Eon Lake. Frequency Control Center says, "Never used anything of theirs." B Jamin also says, "I'm not a fan of native instruments." Smiling Air says, "I own their last year's complete package. You can create your own VSTs on it." Yeah, I think I will say I was looking into Kontakt, Curtis, because I'm making sample packs and I want to create samplers that have it all preloaded rather than just giving like, here's C, here's E, here's D of this sample. And then, take it all and throw it in your own sample. Like I want to offer the like, if you use Logic, here it's created on sampler, and I've done all this LFO modulation on the filter on this to create these really cool sounds. So I'm looking at doing the Logic sampler, the Ableton sampler once I get Ableton, and then or at some point, let's say, and then I was considering Kontakt, but I was like, nah. And also, B Jamin says Eon Lake is spot on.
Yeah.
Lars, Lars doesn't chime in the whole episode, and then we're talking native instruments, and people aren't expressing joy at the mere existence of it. And he says, "Not a fan? For shame."
Yeah.
All right, Curtis, but let's. We've already been going a while. Why don't we bring this to the table, and then we'll call it.
Well, let me run through what. Let's tell you what. This has already started as like this kind of a round robin situation straight away. So let's just run quickly through what they have, and then let me throw the other idea out into the situation, the other side of the situation, and then we can kind of mull on that for a little bit until we hit the end of the show, because we're at 63 minutes right about now. So there's a couple of things in here. It is a one-stop shop, and it is $600. So yeah, $600. And in that $600, you get a lot in there, a lot of variation, a lot of different ideas. There's a new Kontakt 8 in there with a new chord and phrases tool. So if you're not bothered about learning how to play chords, they got you. It's okay. You can hit a single note and be done, which some people push up against, but most synthesizers have the chord function in that regard. Last year or the year before, Isotope was bought by Native Instruments. So you get Ozone 11 Standard, which includes AI-powered workflows for advanced processing, repair. Really useful for that if you're into sound design, or if you're into post-production, film, or anything like that at all. If you're in anything, we got too much reverb on a voice, or if you've got too much hum coming from a fan or something. isotope ozone is your best friend in that regard, and I don't think there is a better one to be used. I can't think of a different one right now. Coming into the musical side of things, there's the classic Alicia's electric keys, because Alicia Keys is apparently still relevant in this world. Great music.
All right, yeah, of course.
But it is a very bright piano sound, right? Which, I mean, it's nice. And if you're into that sort of thing, straight out the package, yes. She's had there has been the grand piano out there for a long time. This is the electric version of that as well, which is quite nice. It is very high quality. The one thing you do say about native instruments is that yes, it's expensive, but you are pulling decent presets, multi-sample presets straight out the box, which is really nice in that regard. A couple of new things. There's a new guitar rig 7, which is really nice in there. Vocal colors, which is where we start using VSTs for vocal modulations, auto tune, and modulators, that kind of thing. And this cinematic Kithara plugin, which is all about cinematic guitars, mandolins, balalaikas from all over the world, that kind of thing. It says here, rich tones from a premium acoustic guitar or premium guitars, that kind of thing. Very cinematic, very nice. Again, straight out the box, that kind of thing. Which leads me, I know I'm coming across in this regard as someone a bit of a fanboy. I do sit with you guys when it comes to kind of creating your own sounds and not necessarily sit with the presets, but I am a big fan of this for many reasons. And one of that is the separation of the art and the product. It's all very good and it's all very fine. It's all very dandy to sit there and make your own sounds and create art from an organic, intrinsic perspective. Sometimes you get a decent commission and you've got a 5-day turnaround. And sometimes you just need a decent acoustic guitar, which you can whack into a DAW and call it done. And sometimes if you're making a career out of beat making and out of post-production or sound design or whatever, sometimes a small investment of something like this, where you know and you can be confident in the fact of what you're using and just throw it in and call it done, is a great way to separate your artistic expression and your project and your moniker from that commission, which you can just get done with in that regard. You hear where I'm coming from?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I could sit here and trash a lot of the things you just said and go into how that they're useless for me, and yeah, that I'd probably have to downsample that one and all the rest of it. But the fact remains that, you know, they are tools, and you know, that's just me being a bit of a prat, to be honest.
Be a prat,
having said that, I mean, you know, there is competition in that space as well. And if I were looking for, like, you know, I've suddenly got myself a Hans Zimmer gig scoring a film, I'm not necessarily stuck for vendors and sources of, you know, hugely varied, high quality cinema grade sound. But you're right. I mean, it is one of them. I just wouldn't be looking at native instruments, I don't think. There are a few others I would definitely go towards. Spitfire.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying too. Yeah, Spitfire comes to mind. That's what I was saying. I'm with you. I also think too, it's surprising some of the stock sounds and even like Logic work that I've done, commission work that have strings and stuff like that, and it's either just the Logic strings or it's Logic mixed with Spitfire, and I didn't have to drop $600 for all of that, you know. But I'm not saying it's not, because that you get a full suite of all these types of stuff and things like that. So I think there's a place for it, and I think what you bring up is a good point. Use case, if you're trying to do a lot of compositions and you're getting hired and you need quick turnarounds and stuff like that, makes a lot of sense. Like, you know, if you're going to buy one synthesizer, that's going to be more or the same or maybe a little less than buying that, where you get all that and you can do that sort of stuff quickly. But there is also quite a lot of competition in that sphere, as Jan Lake said. So I think it's worth looking at what's available. And like Smiling Airs was saying earlier, that Native Instruments has sales, so you can get a lot of that maybe even cheaper and stuff like that. But no, you bring up a good point for sure, Curtis. Unlike everybody's making good points, I guess.
We're just a bunch of good people making good points. Yeah, there's plenty of competition going around, and it is a case of depending on what you're marketing through, it's always good to play it. You know, it's $600. You know, it's a decent synthesizer / a decent suite. But then you've got to think about it as well, haven't you? You know, do you have the hard drive space? Do you have the processing power? You know, where is that all going to go? You know, as soon as I've got 15 on my computer, for example. I unloaded it on a couple of years ago when I bought this new laptop. Immediately had to take it off and put it on its own hard drive, and now it just lives on a hard drive because of that space. And that is something you have to bear in mind as well. Yep. If you are thinking about sinking $600 on something, you know, a synthesizer isn't going to take up any hardware space. You know, you can just plug it straight in and you can make a thing through it. And that, you know, the computing space, as we saw with like the gaming industry, when games went from like a couple of megabytes to a couple of gigabytes and beyond that, you know, we're starting to see
now.
Right, yeah, exactly. And now, you know, we're not far off with the same thing with VSTs and instruments. I mean, Spitfire are amazing. I've been fortunate enough to have the full suite of Spitfire, and it's getting, I can't remember how much exactly, but it's close to a terabyte. It's huge.
Well, look at what Smiling Air said. 2 terabytes are around that for the whole native instrument suite. That's crazy.
It is. It's an insane amount of space.
That's a lot.
And
but at the same time, we're getting a reasonable amount of love in the chat for Kontakt and certain patches.
There is something nice about you know, you can, with your third-party VSTs as well, putting them into complete control, and all you have to do is just load up an instance of complete control, and it's all there. Perhaps less. What's the phrase? Less relevant for like the likes of Ableton and FL Studios and stuff, which have got very good search functions. But to my knowledge, last time I used the likes of Reaper and Audacity, for example, it's not so much there. But having that in place could be a nice one-stop shop in that regard as well.
God, yeah. I mean, what is the point of having massive array of sounds if you can't find them easily? You could be there for weeks going through a hard drive.
It's the ultimate form of procrastination. I was going to make a song, but I couldn't find the piano.
It's like there is. I mean, at the same time, I don't know if you guys. Maureen's friend put it in the Discord about a month ago now, about Fortet and the making of his latest album. And this again, B jamming since birth. This notion of just flicking through the presets and finding something that you like in that regard. And you know, that is a workflow which many people resonate with. That, you know, instead of crafting for something, just picking a preset and making it work and going from there.
Yeah, I like just picking a random number.
Yeah.
Dial it up. You've got to use it.
That's on your whiteboard. Yeah,
it has been. Yeah, preset roulette.
Preset roulette. Jeez.
What a way of doing it. Yeah. But yeah, it's out there. Probably wait for a sale. Don't spend 600 or go halfsies with a friend. That's what I did. It's always good because I don't think they limit the amount of devices you can put it on.
I just want to mention too, it's interesting because I remember, and I was teaching some sound design and stuff too. I was like, oh yeah, I learned a lot from this old Fortet video where he took sounds and did all this splicing to it. You know, like he would chop it by eighths and then split it, reverse, like duplicate it, reverse it, and have these like spacings where it would be the forward playing one, then the reverse playing one, then and all this. And then now, according to that video, everything's like presets and stuff for the new album. So it's interesting to see the different workflows because that original video, like I still apply some of the things I've seen from that when it comes to designing sounds and taking things and stuff.
Wasn't he? And doing destructive edits and stuff.
Yeah, he had like the Prophet. I want to say it was the Prophet 5. Yeah. He was like in some studio for this video and showing like, I want to say Pro Tools, like an early Ableton or something. But yeah, I learned a lot from that video, and it was really interesting to see then when that video popped up, like, oh, presets, huh? There's no wrong way to do it, whatever gets you inspired, but it's just interesting to see the change in workflow and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I see it on where I'm at with my new album right now is like this notion of some of the tracks that are forming are just sheer sound design, and there's just tracks and layers and layers and layers and layers. And And other ones, there is just, okay, this works, this is 8 tracks, let's just do this bing, bang, bot. And it's, the workflow can change depending on what the song is about at the end of the day. You know, I mean, yes, as producers, we have a workflow and we have something that speaks to us and resonates with us. But at the end of the day, it's about whatever the song itself creates. You know, we're not in control of the creativity in which we put through.
Yeah, no, I for sure. And I think every song should have its own workflow. I found it interesting to see such a drastic change. But I mean, that other video is probably 10 or 11 years old. So you would expect that changes would happen and stuff like that. But it's just interesting to be like, oh, such a polar opposite, seemingly polar. I haven't watched that new video though, but it's seemingly, from what everyone was saying about the new video, pretty different workflow.
Oh yeah, it's just Omnisphere. It's a bass preset in Omnisphere. It's just, and he literally was just saying, I just flicked through till it felt right.
Yeah.
Which, some days you got to be a lazy producer, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes though, that just does your head in. You know, after a while, it can just. I go into one. Sometimes it works. It depends if you hit on something soon enough. I think.
Yeah.
If I get past 5,000 sounds.
Yeah.
Drooling. Make it stop.
It's like selecting a snare, isn't it? It's the same. It's
Well,
like everything's the same.
I would just say, depending on, your level as a producer or something, I think it is useful to know the ins and outs of, like, I want this sound, this is how I can make it. Or if you don't know how to make it, try to find a preset to then reverse engineer. But on the other hand, if you just want to make music and not worry about that, and you can get all the sounds from a preset, then hey, that's cool. For me personally, I like the idea, like, oh, I really want this thing to sound like this. Oh, well, I could do that. Like, I like that kind of like engineering aspect or whatever, but I don't think everybody needs to. But I think it is good to know the ins and outs of your synths and your sound design and stuff, so that you can do things that even a preset might not have or something,
That's
It's a
true.
bit like
And there's also a lot of distance between both ends of the scale of that. I mean, you can start with your presets and tweak your presets.
Exactly.
And so on. They start to make a bit of sense to you as to how they've been put together, and you can be on a journey from one end to the other and still be making music in the meantime.
That's what I'm saying. It depends on like level.
Do a master's degree in synthesis or anything. You can occupy that middle ground for a long time while you're learning, and it's just helpful, and still use presets.
Yeah, well, I don't think there should be any judgment. I'm not casting judgment on people that use presets. I'm just saying, I personally think, like, I love the idea of, like, I want to know how to make this. Here's how I do it. And then I don't have to rely on scrolling through presets until I find something. But on the other hand, the way I learned to do that, or started to learn to do that, was finding presets I liked and being like, oh, that's how they're using that LFO on this, and then they're doing this and that. So
I kind of meant you didn't need to have a full understanding of it to make use of anything you learn along the way. It's not like you have to go straight for the hardcore, I know everything about synthesis now, because that's just stupid.
Well, they just, exactly. You just don't need to. There's no need to have a camp, I suppose. They kind of fit. They feed into each other, don't they? Like you have a preset, you learn about what the preset is, and that tells you a little bit about waveforms and tells you a little bit about synthesis. Then you find out, you go, oh, okay, if I want this sound, maybe I need to go for this preset, because that's what that might sound like. And then they feed into infinity, and before you know it, you've been at your desk for 4 days and you've not eaten for 7.
Don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I want to. There's a lot of chat. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to. BGM just posted this, and I think this is interesting. And I'm curious to hear everybody's thoughts on this. They say there's a difference between sound designing and just making music.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a good thing, because sometimes you can do sound design when the music's not happening. You just I'm just going to make some sounds I like, save them for later, and the next thing you know, you've written a song. We've talked about it a few times, haven't we? You can kid yourself, fool that silly monkey that he's not actually writing a song, and he'll write a song.
But I don't know. I would also call, like, throwing a sample into a sampler and doing a bunch of stuff to it, adding effects and things like that. That's sound design, but that's still making music to go, I'm going to then chop this and all that type of stuff. It's a blurred line, I guess. Of like,
I like the fact it could go either way, to be fair. Yeah.
But it could be. Maybe we stem that, and maybe we put that in the docket for a future round robin, because it is an interesting debate, because that leads into what is music? What is sound design? What's the difference between the two? Oh, they're there. It's like, let's park that as we're at 1 hour and 20. Let's park that and let's bring that forward in a couple of weeks' time. Be jamming. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. With that, I think we'll call this. We just have a couple other things to talk about. The last thing that we need to discuss is the next sample flip challenge. So we had an awesome listening party for our latest sample flip challenge, which was everybody flips the same set of samples. So I made a pad, a bass, and drums using session players and Logic, and then added some sound design. There we go. And then everybody flipped it. And my goal, or what the goal was, what I really wanted to see and hear, and what I was stoked to see, how different everything would end up from the same start point. Everybody had the same samples, but they could do whatever they wanted with it. You know, whatever genre, BPM. You could take a granular slice of just one sample and call it a day. And man, everybody made some really crazy stuff. So these are a lot of fun. We do them once a month. If you want to take part, just head to our Discord. The link's in the description. All are welcome there. It's a great place where we talk all kinds of gear and stuff like that, and all this type of stuff that usually if you talk to someone in the real world, their eyes will glaze over. But here we're like, oh, you did an envelope follower? That's awesome. But head there. And yeah, we've got our next one. We've got 3 choices. And so we're going to throw a vote. I think Curtis might be typing that right now on the YouTube. We're going to throw it in the YouTube chat. And then we're also going to put it in the Discord. But we have 3. And if I pull up my phone, which has what Curtis wrote down, we've got 3 different ones. And when I find it, where did you text it? There it is. Okay, so we have a carryover from the last one. Make a corporate jingle. Then we have free stuff only. So you make a track using free. The thing with that is even a free DAW. So like GarageBand, and then that would be the start point. And then the third one, and this is what we changed the name from the original, which we were talking about. This is the Frankenstein flip. So the way this one, the Frankenstein flip, is going to work is. Curtis, did you post a poll? Because I can't see the poll.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just saw the 3 names, so I'm just making sure it's the poll. Okay, the Frankenstein flip, the way this is going to work is everybody gets a set amount of bars that they have to compose, 12 bars, 4 bars, whatever that is. And then we'll give you a key and a BPM, and you just make that whatever you want in that key, in that BPM. And then we're going to all submit it. Let's say everybody makes 4 bars. We're going to all submit that, and then we're going to play them all in succession to create a track. So we're Frankensteining a track. Now the flip part comes in. Curtis, I think we agreed it'll be Curtis this time, but if not, I'll make the more session players. But I think it's Curtis is going to make a sample for us, even just a pad, whatever, that we can all put in our flip. So that's going to be the basis. We all start with the same basis, the same key, the same BPM, but we can do whatever genre you want to make, whatever. And then we're all just going to see how it comes together. So that would be the Frankenstein flip. So those are the 3. So we've got the poll here, and then we'll post it also in the Discord. And yeah, Eon Lake, do you have any thoughts on these?
I know I don't want to sway anyone, but there's one I'm definitely favoring.
Yeah, the corporate jingle.
Yeah, corporate jingles, obviously. Yeah, I want to do something about soap.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
there you go.
There you go.
Dawn or something.
Maybe not.
Curtis, what about you?
I am again. I'm going to keep my reservations to self. I like it when our community bring really cool ideas to the table, which are better than mine. I'll just say it that far. I want to
add. Sorry to interrupt, but the Frankenstein flip. The name is from us, but the idea came from Bendu. So yeah.
There you go. Exactly. So currently, as it stands, sorry, Ian, let's say that again.
He's full of good ideas. I said, sorry, mate.
He's full of good ideas. He's full of good ideas. He's full of good music. Bendu's album Wall Gathering is on our Bandcamp. Go have a look at it. It's great. Anyway, this month's challenge, we at the moment, as it stands, 62% of votes. There's been 13 votes so far. 62% for the Frankenstein flip. 23% for make a corporate jingle, and free stuff only is at 15% right now. We will be taking it to the Discord for another round of voting. So head over to the Discord and we'll put it in there after the show. And we'll have everything ready to go by the end of the weekend. So we'll do the poll until probably Friday. That's what we usually do.
Yeah.
And then over the weekend, I'll make the samples and I'll send it out to everyone so that they can see. And it'll be put in there.
And I think we'll try and do the listening party, whatever the week of Halloween is. Let's see.
Well, it's 30th.
Wednesday the 30th.
30th.
Yeah, perfect.
We'll do it on Wednesday the 30th.
Because if Frankenstein Flip wins, it's only fair. But I just want to read one thing from the chat. Lars says, so the pad sounds will hold it together. I doubt it, man. I don't know if Curtis is going to make a pad either. I'm not sure what Curtis is making. We'll have a sample that everyone gets, but you can do whatever you want with the sample. I personally would say we should at least, everyone should have that sample in there in some form, because that's, if the name would be Frankenstein Flip, but do whatever you want. Yeah.
We'll see. I think Bendu set the rules quite well. You make 12 bars. You've got 2 bars of fade in and you got basically 2 bars at each end for fade in and fade out, and we'll layer them together. So that's how it would work through in that regard. I think that works nicely. But we'll get to the details in the Discord after the show, and we'll put everything through.
Yeah, we'll see what the rules, because we have to think time duration too. But yeah, we'll have a think. Let's see if it wins. It seems like it's gonna, but we'll see when the Discord gets thrown in. But yeah, Eon, like, is there anything regarding anything we missed or that you want to mention? Doesn't have to be about the Flip Challenge.
I don't think so, but yeah, my head's just in challenges now.
Yeah,
and
P6
you
and
might
challenges.
put all that together into a song. Somebody's who's going to actually piece it together at the end as well? If you did that,
no, I'll take it on board. I'll take it on board. It's fine. I'll grab it all the day before, and I'll just whack it.
Maybe that's the next challenge. Everyone takes everything produced in the previous challenge and makes the full track out of it.
Yeah. Take all the stems.
Yeah,
take all the stems and make a song out of all the stems. I like that. Yeah.
The assembly, the proper Frankenstein bit.
Well, there is that one that we're gonna do next year. The Lars one. What was it? The song centipede or whatever, where we're all gonna build on the track. That's like a long-term Flip challenge that would be like separate from these. But I think that would be really fun. Curtis, anything else?
No, just I think we got to the end. You know, we got it's an hour and 26. Thank you to everyone who's been here for this week. It's been a great demo. You did really well with the demo as well. So thank you for bringing it along. Thanks to your wife for buying it for us. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to help us get more gear, then consider going to Patreon or the PayPal for one-time donations. We are also doing our Project Homebrew for physicals, but we'll talk more about that next week. Really quickly, yes, Lars, thank you for the name reminder. I had blanked. Remix Centipede. That was it. Anyways, we'll talk about that one later, but head to the Discord, cast your vote. Curtis, take note of this poll vote right when we end, because it's going to, I think, disappear. So just take note like now-ish or soonish. Yeah. And anyways, with that, we will be back next week. We're going to have a new Beyond Genre in the next couple of weeks, our radio show. So we'll keep you posted over on the Discord. But if you have any tracks that you would like to submit, send them to audionauticsounds@gmail.com or post them in our Discord. We just ask that they have to be MP3. And then if they are over 5 minutes, that's totally fine. But we will be fading it out at the 5-minute mark. This is to fit the most songs in within our time frame, because we do these with limited time. But yeah, we have a lot of fun with those. We'd love to see you there. And if you want to help the show keep going and stay afloat, share it, tweet about it, whatever works. But yeah, it's with your help that we keep going and all of that. So with that, unless there's anything else, Curtis, I'm gonna hit the music and we'll see you next week. Anything else?
We'll see you next week.
Okay, we're good.
See you next week. Ciao, ciao.
All right. Thanks for watching.